Hello, today is Sunday, April the 1st, 2012, and over the last few days I've been writing a few different notes on Notepad, and this video will be about, well, this one is what's killing us right in here. Some stuff about the Mayan calendar, some date information, as well as a possible doomsday scenario. All this information is how I see things, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And let's get started. Now, the information below here, this is the information I was writing down for a video I did a few days ago based on calculating your own inflation. These are the different items that we seem to put money into and then balance of goods to buy whatever we need. I've already talked about that, so I'm going to be finished with that. But before I was talking about I think the 6 things that are killing us, or the 6 major problems, extreme problems that this world is currently facing, which is the animal population, the weather, the wars, and all the killing that is going on, our currency, pollution/ecosystem, and complacency. So let's get started. Animal population. Well, there's a problem. Bees, they're dying. Heaven forbid the worms are actually going to go on us as well. And you can say, well, there's an overpopulation of humans, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But what seems very definite is that we have a lot of problems that need to be fixed. To fix this problem, I think we need unitation, people or animals to unite together and then fix the problem. For the people to unite together and fix the problem, well, we can fix all of these problems once we get rid of complacency. So if we work on this one first, get rid of complacency, then work on the other 5, it'll be easy. But that's because there's a lot of us to work on it, but we're a long ways away from it. But working together, you look what's on a scientific level, what are the problems with the animal situation, what can we do as a human species on a scientific level to make this problem go away. Now, for the animals to unite together to fix this problem, they just need to go to war against us. And if they did unite together, they're dumb, so they won't. But if they could, then they'd work together and kill us. Quite frankly, if you think you could survive 40,000 birds flying right at you while you have other big animals waiting to come in for a kill, good luck with that. Big time, especially if you live in the country, you're done. And then if you want to go out at nighttime, you should maybe check out to see what the population of the bats really is. Bye-bye. The weather. Now, the weather seems to be something that's, I don't know if it's coming in because of the changes in the animal population, the changes in the ecosystem and the pollution and such. Maybe that's the case, maybe it's not. But again, maybe we should understand what's causing this erratic weather to take place and what the best scientific decisions from that point on happens to be. The next one is wars and killing. Now, wars and stuff has been going on for quite some time, which is why I put in this bracket power/tools/weapons compared to, and compared to is like World War II and everything beforehand. And quite frankly, it's really not that productive as a human species to fight each other in that type of mechanism. At least that's my opinion. But considering the type of war equipment that we have, it's now getting extremely dangerous, in my opinion. Now, currency money is it's by far a major problem because the profits motive has really gotten into the problems for a lot of different things. And I think Peter Joseph explains the reason why in both the second and the third Zeitgeist films extremely well. And pollution and ecosystem, well, I don't know how productive it is to just pour an entire continent within the radiation. You throw in the Monsanto and all the stuff that we're doing with the crops. It's just sick. And then, of course, the biggest one is complacency. People can not wake up, which quite frankly, is a major problem. Okay, so what happens if the you-know-what hits the fan? The date is some month, some year, sometime this decade. We'll assume gold is $29.75 on this Friday, but it could be any price up, we'll say 195 or 7% for the day. Silver was up $20 for the day, up 20%, up to 115, and the Dow was up 400 points, up almost 3% to 15,500. Who knows what day it is? Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time. The markets have been closed for an hour or two. Something of tipping scale variety wakes people up to fiat currency. Now, let's understand what a tipping scale is versus a turning scale. A tipping scale is something that happens at a particular event, at a time frame that really changes things in a flash instead of over a long evolutionary period of time frame where it's hard to notice on what day things really changed. An event like this is 911, and it could be even 911 again that does a tipping scale again, because the complacency of what happened on this day, again, problem within this world. But let's assume that something happens and then a large amount of people, don't know what percentage it would be, are realizing the problems we have within the fiat currency system. Maybe people can understand why it's guaranteed to cause the world we're having today. So no one is selling silver on the internet due to volatility or some news event. Everyday city and town vendors suspend sale or put insane price increases. Some people make it to the store in time in the first few hours, but the event is so huge that it is so short-lived. That's where they go in and they just buy whatever silver. Oh, silver's 115. I'll give you 140 for an ounce, 135, and they're the ones that get lucky. Mayhem on streets, which could bring some martial law. So this is Friday. So now we go into Saturday. The president announces what they did or something people do not believe. Banks get harassed via people storming to the branches and phone lines, forces them to shut down the telephone and stores. Many bank employees are distraught on the news and refuse to work with them. Not all, but some. Large chains can't operate because business employees refuse to go to work along with fiat currency issues. Some stores remain and most likely getting their friends, buds, / security is what they're doing. And many use complete barter of what you got of real value. Now, this is going to be something that would be extremely important because in a situation like this, things can get pretty out of control. Items of major need, food, water, precious metals, etc., be in high demand. And that's why when I showed you before about the needs, this is just to get the needs at any future time. There's like so many different things. But I can tell you right now, food and water are probably going to be amongst the top of the list. Big stock market / Comex market has problems as well with many phone calls. Many employees of Comex have issue problems with something of news, flurry of demand for orders for physical, and a percentage of officers or other high-powered individuals switch sides on news. What would that news be? Whatever this news here happens to be. Sunday. Power outage at the end the end of the world scenario, or NWO counter plan. Oh, if something like this happens, you got to think they might have something planned. Just something to keep your eyes open towards. All stores closed except private individuals whom can trade, like a home-based business, basically. So if you happen to know who's selling what, or you happen to be in the know somehow within your local community, then you may be doing okay. And Silver War, which could see cop versus cop. Remember, if there's a situation where, we'll just say within North America / Europe / Australia and Brazil and all those type of nations, where the 40%, 60, 70% get it quickly at one time, at least enough to know things are very wrong, then some of those people getting it will be people like, of course, the police officers as well. And many of them actually want to They want to do the noble thing because they have been complacent into understanding what's really going on within this world. And if that complacency dissipates or disappears, then that'd be an interesting scenario of what would take place. And then on Monday, if the gold and silver market could even actually open this day, what would happen? Because you have a situation where if the prices get out of control, then, well, maybe you go to that large price people talk about, the $400 silver, the $5,000 gold. And then people say when it gets that high, you don't really want to sell it for cash. And this might be one of those types of situations. But here's the deal. If you want to talk about complacency in a situation like this, there's going to be a group of people that are going to think, oh man, this currency is going to survive. I have no problem selling you my silver for $300 because I know the price is $115 on the COMEX, and yeah, I know with everything going on, it's going to go up to like $180, $200, but I'm just going to sell it for $300 and then laugh at you type thing. Okay. So that's a possibility, and it can be many different things. And again, because of the complacency problem, maybe something like this will never even happen. Mayan calendar. So this is basically the timeline that I've been using. On the first column, this is a 50% retracement of each cycle. This is a 61.8% before each cycle. BI stands for before infinity, or before the end of the Mayan calendar, or before what people might call the end of the world, or the 0 date on the time wave, whatever. So therefore, with 3.5 billion years, or around 2.3 billion years, a consciousness cycle of action and reaction was the top consciousness cycle. Now, from my understanding within this, as we move from cycle to cycle, then all of the previous cycles that we encountered is almost like memory, stuff that we're not conscious of, but something that we are used to doing or knowing type thing. And the cycles that are ahead of us are barely coming into play or about to come into play. So we came from nothing, basically, on the action-reaction. Now, at 3.4 billion years, that's the end of meteor bombardment. The planets, the sun have now been into play. Photosynthesis is starting, and the planet is becoming born, basically. The next one was stimulus response. Now, instead of the first one, which is just action and the reaction to things, you're now responding to what's coming into play. So that's why we have animals on the planet. They're responding to things. The plants are responding to different things. It's more than just the action reaction that we've seen before. Now, stimulus individual response, somewhere around 6 to 8 million years ago. And what happened around 6 to 8 million years ago? That was the start of us, basically. That's when the human species at its most earliest forms was coming into play. Similarities and differences about 450,000 to 300,000 years ago would over-trump individual response, which means consciousness is now able to see what's similar and different within the world and everything to do with consciousness. Reasoning was about 22,000 to 16,000 billion years, or excuse me, 22 to 16,000 years ago before the infinite period. I'll get into the infinity when I get to the bottom part of this. So at this stage here, what are the reasons for acts? Reasons for doing things, reasons for eating, reasons for swimming, reasons for everything. Between 1100 years ago and 800 years ago, the consciousness cycle of law and rules over-trumped that of reasoning. So when you're within something like here, you're starting to see power coming in, but barely. Ethics coming in, but microscopically, and these are even less microscopic. And so the law and rules, that was a time frame when we have, well, basically more the biblical times, medieval, and we made a lot of rules within this time as well. between 56 and 40 years ago, approximately, we have a thing called power that comes into play. And if you look at the way the world looked 80 years ago and everything in between, compared to about 50 years ago and today, we can see how powerfully we've done everything that we've done as the main consciousness cycle. Ethics between 2 and 3 years before the end of the calendar. Now, when we can figure out that ethics has overruled power, when the consciousness of people are more consciously, not subconsciously, but consciously affected within ethics, then the Mayan calendar will come to an end within 2 to 3 years. Now the question is, has it already come into play? For if the Mayan calendar ends any time this year or even really into the first part of next year, this would have already come into play. Now, ethics doesn't mean that everyone does the right thing and everyone's just a bunch of sweet, nice little people. No, that's not what it means. But it means that you're conscious the most of the time on ethics than any of the other things on this list. And that would mean you're feeling bad about different things. It means that you're doing proper decisions. And the ethics are already into play when there are a lot of things that are being done for the betterment of the people, but quite frankly, not that effective. Co-creation about 39 days to 50 days before the calendar comes to a close. We're not there yet. This is only coming me through instinct. This here, all these different cycles you can get through Ian Lungold's work, Dr. Carl Kalaman. And the understanding one is, I should put a few question marks on it maybe, which would occur approximately 60 to 84 hours before the end of the Mayan calendar. Now each one of these is about 20 times duration, a 20 times time frame and duration. So if you take this number, divide it by about 20, it'll come close to that. And I'm using about 19 and 2/3. I don't know what the number is, but I don't think it matters too much anyway. And then with 30 to 40 minutes before the end of infinity, end of the calendar, something big's going to happen, as will again between basically 1.5 to 2 minutes before the calendar comes to an end, something big's going to happen. And then between 4.5 and 6.5 seconds before the end of the Mayan calendar. See, when I talk about when things keep getting faster and faster, that it gets to a point where this thing it can't go on forever, because mathematically, you cannot continuously divide this number by 20 and then continuously add these numbers together and expect that this is going to take us even further than a year, a week, or even a day. It's impossible with the law of numbers. So that's why when things get faster and faster, it has to hit a reflection point at some point. Now, as far as infinity is concerned, if we're going through all of these different cycles, 90 seconds left, 4.5 seconds left. Well, what's 4.5 seconds divided by 20? Well, that's like about a half a second or so. Maybe even a little less than that. So now we're talking milliseconds. You're not going to notice that. We'll just go through, everything will just happen, and this will all happen in a flash. Maybe we'll be in some sort of coma. I don't know, but quite frankly, as this thing comes to an end, it seems as if the most logical thing is that we reverse all of these cycles backwards. So this would be AI, not artificial intelligence, but AI is an after infinity. And then we go through different consciousness cycles. Instead of the world speeding up, the world will be slowing down, which quite frankly is something I think it really, really needs. So this is how I view the changes within the Mayan calendars. When people say that the calendar could be like 100 years off or 300 years off, this is why to me it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now, what's the logic in stating in the past that we have clear-cut information that there's been a large time difference within evolution where it takes things a lot quicker than it used to? Well, is it safe to say that back here that law and rules was really powerful? If you look back to me, Yeah, that seems very safe. So, thousands of years within this cycle, is it safe to say that within thousands of years that we had really the same amount of evolution in just a couple of centuries? And when I'm looking back, I think that is safe to say. And just even looking back at the last like 10, 15 years, it seems as if more stuff, or as much stuff has happened this century than the last century, or we're getting very close to it. And we're only 12% through our current century as we're playing it right now. Alrighty, this is a 20-minute video, longer or about as long as I wanted it to come into play. And thank you for tuning in. Take care. Bye-bye.